Debbie Gioquindo, Hudson Valley Wine Goddess. Welcome to the wine seminar, Sparkling Wines of the World at the Hudson Valley Wine Fest. I know the festival looks a little different this year. I didn't have Todd to hook me up and all the equipment. I'm the sound engineer, I'm the videographer, I'm the PowerPoint person today. I'm doing everything. But the seminar that I'm going to bring to you today is Sparkling Wines of the World. I'm going to be discussing all the different kinds of sparkling wines of the world to give you an idea of what's out there and what's available. So welcome to my backyard, and in the spirit of the Hudson Valley Wine Festival, I'm doing this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm nice, hot, and sweaty. So I'm going to sit down at my computer now, and we'll go through a PowerPoint of the different sparkling wines of the world. I hope you enjoy it, and feel free to ask me any questions. You can email me at debbie@hudsonvalleywinegoddess.com, and I'll come back and talk to you after the PowerPoint. Thanks. Hi, welcome to the Sparkling Wines of the World seminar. So usually I'm standing up on the podium and you guys are all drinking something, and usually there's food involved, but today here I am. But I got props. I got a bunch of different bottles of sparkling wine with me, and we're gonna go and learn about the different types of sparkling wines there are in the world. So champagne, which everybody is probably most familiar with, which is grapes grown and produced in the Champagne region of France. It cannot be called champagne unless it's grown in the Champagne region of France. Anything sparkling wine grown in France but outside of Champagne is called Cremant. This I have a Cremant of Burgundy. Then there's also like Cremant of Alsace. Wherever in France it's called Cremant outside of Champagne. Then we go to Italy and we have Prosecco, and here I have Nina Franco Rustico. And then we have Asti, and then Franciacorta, which I couldn't find. And then in Spain we have Cava. And then in Portugal we have Espumante. And in Germany we have Sekt. Couldn't find that either. So sparkling wine is made in a couple different ways. The traditional method champenois, is when the grapes are harvested, and this is traditionally the way champagne is made in the traditional method. Grapes are hand harvested, whole cluster pressed, the settling of the solids, deborage, in stainless steel tanks. Then the wine goes through its primary fermentation, its malolactic fermentation, and then its assemblage, its blending. So this is where they'll blend in the Pinot Noir, the Pinot Meunier, or maybe different parts, different non-vintages of Chardonnay or whatever. Then we have the liquor de triage, where they put the yeast and the sugar into the must. Then it goes through a second fermentation with a crown cap on. So during the second fermentation is when it ages on the lees, which is the dead yeast cells. That's when the yeast cells dies, and they usually will sink to the bottom of the bottle. And then it is a process called riddling comes in, and that's when the champagne bottle with the crown cap is kind of turned into a riddling rack. They're put into a riddling rack, and then the riddler comes and turns the bottle every, couple days. So the dead yeast cells will all come and form into the neck of the bottle. And then what they do is they dip it in an icy brine. And then when they remove the crown cap, all those dead yeast cells come shooting out like a bullet, pretty much. And then if there's any sweetness that's going to be added to the champagne or sparkling wine, now is the time they do it, and then they cork it. And champagne is usually generated at 6 atmospheric bars of pressure. Then we have the Charmant, or the tank method. This is where everything is done in the tank. So one of the reasons somebody might choose this. Beside that, it's kind of like one process and one thing. It also emphasizes the youthful ness of the grape and the nice aromas and the primary fruit, and it's just it will, you don't get that yeasty type of flavor that you get in champagne. It's fermented normally. It's blended as desired. The yeast and the sugar are added to the tank, to the blended wine. The mixture ferments under pressure. The carbon dioxide dissolves into the liquid. It's racked, filtered, the dosage is added, and then it's bottled. Now we have the transfer method. So this is a little different. It starts out, the champagne process or sparkling wine process starts out as the traditional method. And then after the second fermentation, instead of doing the whole riddling thing, all the bottles are poured into a tank, a pressurized tank, where it's filtered, the dosage is added, and it's bottled. Then we have a partial fermentation method, and this is generally used for sweeter sparkling wines. Instead of a full fermentation of base wines, and then followed by the secondary fermentation that brings the alcohol level up to 11-12%, this process produces the wine with a 5 to 6% residual sugar. The grapes are processed and fermented just enough to produce a few percentages of alcohol. It's then chilled to stop the fermentation, wrap the sediment off of it, and allowed to rest. Months later, it's woken up from its dormant state, and it begins its fermentation again in a pressurized tank. When the desired alcohol and pressure is reached, it is filtered and it is bottled. Now we're going to go over to champagne. Here's my bottle of champagne. This is actually grower's champagne. Champagne houses like Veuve, Dom Perignon, they buy grapes from various growers throughout the Champagne region. And a lot of the growers now keep some of their grapes, and they produce champagne. And you can find it in the grocery stores, in the liquor stores, in the wine stores. It's usually a lot less expensive than champagne from the houses, and it's just as good. So the grapes used in champagne are Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. Chardonnay, that adds the finesse and the elegance to the champagne. The Pinot Noir is the backbone in the aroma and structure, and Pinot Meunier is the fruit and mid-palate texture. Sometimes you'll notice on a champagne bottle, it'll say Grand Cru, Premier or Cru, or there just might be just say champagne. So if it says Grand Cru, it's got a score of 100%. You're probably spending a lot of money for it. Premier Cru 2, it's between 90 and 99 score. You're probably paying about possibly $60+ on that. And the remaining champagne is 80 to 90 points, and that's just champagne. Maturation is 15 months for non-vintage, 36 months for vintage or more. And autolys is when the leaves and the nuclei release amino acids into the wines and other nutrients into the wines, and this is into the champagne. This is where you get the bready, the toasty notes on the nose, and the creamy mouthfeel, and the biscuit, and all those flavors. And this spends 8 to 10 months doing this in the bottle. So blending of champagne. You have your vintage, so you'll have a date on it. It'll say, 2010, Blanc de Blanc. Non-vintage champagne just won't have a date on it. Blanc de Blanc is 100% Chardonnay grapes. Blanc de Noir is usually Pinot Noir grapes or Pinot Meunier grapes. Now, a rosé champagne, they can do one of two things. Sometimes they do the Sangi method, where they bleed off a portion of the red juice after it's been in contact with the skins and seeds. So they'll be making a Pinot Noir. They'll bleed off, maybe after a day when it reaches the right color, and then they'll add that to the Chardonnay to the blend, and or they'll just add completely finished red wine. So when you're going to buy sparkling wine, you're going to see different things on the label. You're going to see non-dosage, you're going to see extra brut, extra dry, sec, demi-sec, and dow. These all mean different things, and what it means is the sweetness. So a non-dosage, you'll have less than 3 grams per liter of sugar. Extra brut, you'll have less than 6 grams per liter of sugar. A bottle that says brut, it's less than 12 grams per liter of sugar. Extra dry is 12 to 17 grams per liter of sugar. And those are probably the 4 that you will typically see in the liquor store. Sect is a little bit sweeter. It's 17 to 32 grams of sugar. Demi-sec is 32 to 50 grams per sugar. And dow is 50 grams per liter of sugar. I've had a demi-sec, and I didn't find it terribly sweet. I think because the acid in the grapes was so high that the sweetness balanced it out. But I actually kind of liked it. But usually you'll see the non-dosage through extra dry in the store that you're buying. Serving temperatures between 45 and 50 degrees. Then we have Cremant, and this is made in all the different other parts of France. So, and it's all made in the traditional method. So the Cremant of Alsace allows different varietals: Riesling, Pinot Blanc, Pinot Meunier, or Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris, All Extra Blanc, and Chardonnay. If you move to Burgundy and you have Cremant de Bourgogne, you'll find Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Cremant from the Loire Valley will have Chenin Blanc is the main ingredients, and it'll also have Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Cab Franc, or Grolier Noir. Cremant in Bordeaux is made with Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon, Muscadel, Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Carmenere, Malbec, Merlot, and Petit Verdot. And look at that. You even got my neighbors mowing the lawn. Poor timing. So you have background noise as if we're in the wine festival. So now we're going to move over to Prosecco, to Italy. And here's my Prosecco. Nina Franco. Prosecco is made from the Glera grape. It's from the Veneto region. It's produced in the, I have a terrible time pronouncing this stuff, Congelio, Valladolid, or Colli Asolene regions of Veneto. And it's, in order to be able to produce Prosecco, a winery needs to be having produced it for 5 consecutive years. If they haven't been producing it for 5 consecutive years, the label will read Glera, as in the grape. And it is produced in the Charmat method, in the tank method. And then we have Asti, which we have Asti. And that is produced in the Piedmont region of Italy. It's made with 100% Moscato. And the Asti, which I just have Asti. So, the alcohol is 7.5% by volume, so it's a sweet one. It's frizzante, so they fermentate. It's fermented and chilled until the alcohol reaches about 5%. And I said that one is 7%, and it's usually a sweet, minimally carbonated, low alcohol wine. Then we have Asti Spumante, which is a full-fledged sparkling wine. So it is fermented until the alcohol reaches between 7 and 9%, and the atmospheric pressure in the bottle is 5. It is a sweet, but it's not as sweet as the D'Asti. And this is made in the partial fermentation method. And then we go over to Brescia Hills of Lombardy, and we go to Franciacorta, where Franciacorta was made. Franciacorta reached DOCG status in 1995. It's produced by 3 varieties of grapes: the Chardonnay, Pinot Nero, Pinot Bianco. Pinot Bianco cannot exceed 50% of the wine. Non-vintage wines must age 18 months on the lees. Vintage wines, 30 months on the lees. Reserva is made in exceptional years, and that spends 60 months on the lees. The Satine style is a Chardonnay base with less than 5 atmospheric pressure, and it's finished as a brut, and it's 24 months on the lees, and it's non-vintage. The reduced pressure actually gives the wine a softer, creamier, silkier feel. I have never found that type of Franciacorta in the States, but I might not just have good liquor stores. A Franciacorta Rosé must be a minimum of 35% Pinot Noir and aged for 24 months. Now we have Cava. And Cava is kind of one of my favorites. I'm really digging Cava. And Cava is not very expensive at all. It is from the Pyrenees region of Catalonia. And actually today it's made in other regions as well in Spain. It's done in the traditional method. And there are 3 types of grapes for Cava: Massibo, Xarello, and Paradella. And those are native grapes, indigenous to Spain. But you might also find Cava that's made with Chardonnay grapes and Pinot Noir grapes as well. Bottles must be cellared a minimum of 9 months, aging on their lees to qualify as Cava. Now we go to Espumante, and this is Espumante, and it is a Portuguese sparkling wine. The quality of Espumante produced is only in the DOC, Baradara, south of Vinho Verde. The remainder of Portuguese are just sparkling wines. And the VFQ PRD is a regional sparkling wine made in the traditional Charmant method or transfer method in the Douro, Rabato, Minho, Alento, or Extremadura region, and it's made traditional or Charmant method. Let's see, where is this one made? This is made in the Baradara region, the DOC. It's a Vino Espumante de Qualidade, Banco Bruto. A VQPRD is made by traditional Charmant, transfer or injection. Injection is where I didn't really cover that before, but that's where they'll inject the carbon into it in the bottle. It's kind of like the way soda's made. That's just the easiest way to explain it to you. If you guys remember, I had Happy Bitch wines that was made with carbon injection. And that can be done anywhere in Portugal. And Espumosis is the cheapest and the lowest level of sparkling wine, which is also made by carbon injection. And I'm sorry, the VQPRD is made transfer injection. So then we go over to Germany, where you find Sekt. Now, Sekt is made in the tank Charmant method, 90 days, and they store on their lees for about 30. It's finished sweet or semi-sweet. The grapes used in the production of Sekt are Spätburgunder, which is known as Pinot Noir to us, Riesling, Müller, Thurgau, Grauburgunder, which is known to us as Pinot Gris, and Weissburgunder, Pinot Blanc. And there's just some different classifications. The VDP ORT Sekt, which is Village Sekt, spends 15 months on the lees, and the VDP Lagen Sekt is single vineyards and spends 36 months on the lees. So that pretty much covers all the different sparkling wines of the world. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Debbie Gioquindo, the Hudson Valley Wine Goddess. This is where you can find me on all the various channels. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can email me at debbie@hudsonvalleywinegoddess.com. And I want to thank you for sitting through my presentation today of the sparkling wines of the world. And I'm going to finish off by savoring a bottle of sparkling wine for you. So thanks a lot, and have a great day.
Perfect. You're in the thing.
All right. Well, thank you for watching or listening to my seminar today. This is a bottle of cava that I savored. And once again, I'm Debbie Gioquindo, the Hudson Valley Wine Goddess. If you need to reach me, please email me with any questions, Debbie@HudsonValleyWineGoddess.com. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks. Have a great day. Cheers.